Hey folks, today we're going to learn in 3 parts what is and what isn't your problem. This would be a helpful mindfulness tool for you if you find that you're in uncomfortable relationships, interpersonal dynamics are a little tense or wonky, you don't feel like you can be yourself, and you're just not happy with other people. This might also be appropriate for you if you identify as a people pleaser, you're doing inner child work, you think you might be empathic, or you feel stuck. Is that my problem? Isn't just about what you can push back to other people. It's really about what you can take responsibility for and ownership of, because that's where your power is. You're trying to make a great life. You can't do that by controlling other people or making their problems your problems. Let's look closer. Too close? In this drawing, you see what is your problem, the circle. And what's cool about humans is we don't operate in a vacuum. And some of the things outside of your problem, they're kind of because of you. That's helpful to consider because then you have an entry point to solve. So let's look at what actually might be caused by you, but coming from somebody else. And I'm thinking more persistent problems here. Part 1, mirror work. With mirror work, you want to look for what you're talking shit about in another person or circumstance, and you see where somewhere, somehow, maybe itsy bitsy, maybe backwards, what they're doing, you might also be doing. If you think somebody is self-centered or ungrounded or not listening properly, I'd start by looking where you might be doing that somewhere. Is it with that same relationship? Maybe, maybe not. Is it present? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's something that you did before and you still need to accept it and forgive yourself. Mirror work is about integrating your aspects, the elements of yourself, and sometimes we're shown our elements through other people. This is honestly one of my favorite learning tools. I mean, you want to stay grounded, but it's a cool info set to consider. Along the same lines, we have opposite mirror. I see this particularly in power dynamics when someone thinks somebody is narcissistic or really controlling or aggressive. Usually, you're doing the same thing, but oppositely. If somebody's very aggressive or maybe very demanding and you're super passive and not demanding, both of these present opportunities for you to grow as a person. Be all y'all self. The last one is miscellaneous learning. I call this mirror work because life's always teaching us about life and humanity, and you might be being given an opportunity to learn something that'll help you along. So I like to throw that door open. Another instance where it looks like it's definitely something somebody else is doing, but you actually have more power, more problem to claim is, let's say somebody's stepping on your cute little foot. Their problem, right? They're stepping on you. Did you tell them though? Did you let them know this doesn't feel good? I feel your weight on my foot. You know, we're working with a metaphor here. But in many instances, you'd think that somebody stepping on your foot would know that they're stepping on your foot. But maybe their foot doesn't have full sensitivity, or they're busy dancing, or their boots are thick, and they don't know. Unless you tell them, hey buddy, you're stepping on my foot, it's not their problem. Your foot is under theirs. Well, there are instances where they're doing it purposefully and they know what they're doing, or, but start there. Hey buddy, your is. And then you see what happens. They might deny it. Since we're interested in expanding our personal power, which is the same as our awareness of ourselves and others, I'd take that feedback and I'd look and make sure that they really were. And if you find that they really are, then I'd go back to them and say, this isn't comfortable for me. Then they have another choice. They can take the feedback and make an iteration. You guys can have a plan or conversation or container to progress that situation, or they can deny it further. And if that's where they are, not quite their problem yet. In some instances, that's still your problem, because then you have the opportunity to adjust their access to you, with boundaries and exposure. If they don't have the awareness, the sensitivity, or the inspiration to not step on your foot, you have the power to not let those bitches close. But again, this is a realistic channel, and some people you can't sever that quickly, or it's more complicated than that, or. That's okay. You can prune the relationship, the exposure, and then start to work on your mindset around that and think through it more solution-wise. You do not, I promise you do not want to talk about somebody that's a problem in your life more than they are, because it's their problem. They're not able to see why they wouldn't want to step on your foot. And if you take it home and you keep talking about it, it becomes your problem again. Minimize what's coming out and what's coming in, and let what's theirs be what's theirs. And finally, part 3. Are their feelings your problem? Are your feelings their problem? This is nuanced too. I have a net positive sign down here. You want the relationship to have a net positive effect. Sometimes relationships hurt. They help us grow. Ideally, these 2 or 3, in whatever scenario or circumstance it is, care about the net effect and consistently can work toward it. If they can't, then you start to consider what of your feelings they're responsible for and what of their feelings you're responsible for. If they don't have the capacity to give a fuck and you keep waiting with your hand out for a fuck and you feel sad and dejected about it, that's your problem, not theirs. If you're living your life and they don't like it and you're not doing anything to take from their experience, it's just their perception of the choices that you're making, those aren't your problem. This is a pretty nuanced discussion. Maybe this spins off into its own video. If you watched, let me know which of these 3 you'd like to see in detail. In summary, today we looked at ways to think through your interpersonal dynamics so you can better identify what's your problem and what's not your problem. Often, what's not your problem is how other people are behaving or feeling. However, if you're in some kind of relationship together, you generally want to have a container around that conversation and work toward progressing it so everybody's foot feels good. Generally. And if they're not there, then you start to draw lines around what is your problem and what isn't your problem. I have a ton of content online. Go to theselfhug.com to see more or to schedule a free info call.